After you've defined the data for a class, the next step is to build what are called the class constructors. A constructor is a function that allows us to initialize a class object with data, either all of the data that you need to store in the class or just part of it, and it depends on the needs, and in most cases you'll have a constructor for each possibility. So let's see how you build constructors. A constructor always starts with the name of the class. So for the date class, our constructor, actually there's going to be a group of constructors, but the constructor always starts with the name of the class. Then we'll provide the parameters for the constructor function, which will be the month, day, and year for this particular case. We can't use month, day, and year exactly as they're written for variables, so what we'll do is we'll just use single letters for this. For parameters, it's okay to use single letters. And the body of the function will just be month equals M, day equals D, year equals Y, and close off the function definition. Now let me demonstrate how to use a constructor in your code. You declare the name of the class, followed by an object name for that particular instance, followed by the data, which will be written like so. And that's how you use a constructor in your code. When a constructor is called, the function grabs the arguments just like a regular function would do and assigns them to each class data variable. So M gets assigned to month, D gets assigned to day, and Y gets assigned to year. I mentioned earlier that we were going to have a group of constructors, and that's because most classes need to have more than one constructor, depending on the operations of the class and what is expected to be done with the class. If a date can only be declared as month, day, and year, then this one constructor is all we need. However, if we could declare a date as a month and a year, perhaps, then we need another constructor which we can create simply by writing it out again. Month equals M. Actually, it's month and year, not month and day, so let me go back and fix that. We'll assign 0 to the day, and year equals Y, like so. Close off the function call. The reason we can have two constructors with the same name is because of something called overloading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little comment here mentioning that class constructors can be overloaded. And what that means is that as long as the parameter list differs in some way, then you can have two functions with the same name. So in this class definition, I can have two constructors, both with the name date, because the parameter lists are different. In this particular case, we have 3 parameters. In the second constructor, we just have 2. To create an object using that constructor, we would just write it something like this, 3/2011, like so. You can have as many functions as there are different variations on the parameter list. So another constructor I could have, which is a special constructor, is called the default constructor. The default constructor assumes that you're not assigning any initial data to the class object, and so it just assigns default values for each variable. So here our default constructor will assign zeros to month, day, and year. And then when we create the object that uses that constructor, date, tomorrow, when the class is instantiated, then month, day, and year will be set to 0, as opposed to month being set to 3, day being set to 0, and year being set to 2011 in this example, and then month being set to 3, day being set to 20, and year being set to 2011 in the first example. If we had a date that could be set with just one parameter, such as just the year or the month or the day, then we could have a fourth constructor, but I don't believe we're going to create one for this particular class. Dates will either be all set to zeros, or month and year, or month, day, and year. Constructors are important to your class, and you should always provide as complete a set of constructors as you can based on the performance and functionality needed from that class. Now that we've seen how to create the data and how to instantiate objects with data, in the next video we're going to talk about how to retrieve data and how to change data in our class objects by writing what are called accessor functions.